Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Amy, Mystic Rose Tarot. Um, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a little bit of time. Maha's Treasure Box on YouTube posted a video about 2 weeks ago talking about dreams and the importance that dreams are and how they help us understand things about ourselves, about working through, internal situations that we're not aware of. And it got me thinking because this was a topic that I did want to talk about probably about a year ago. And I want to merge it with the tarot and how we can use the tarot as guides for understanding our dreams. Now, there are a few videos out there where people have shared their experience of dream work and using the tarot. And I want to do similar, but I want to give a little bit of a breakdown. I'm not going to be comprehensive. This isn't going to be young-oriented psychology or anything like that, because I don't have a degree in that, but I am interested in taking courses relating to the psyche and when it comes to dream work and subconscious healing through our dreams and other methods. So with this video, I'm going to discuss some exercises and some ways to be more detailed in our dreams, like to try to remember more specifics. Every physical mind, body, spirit on this planet is different. There are people who don't dream. Now, from what I remember reading in an article, we do dream. We dream many times during our sleep cycle. And we have the rapid eye movement, when we close our eyes and we're going back and forth. That's REM. So it's that state of where we are going into that subconscious realm. And we are dreaming because of the movement. But when it comes to specific details, dreams that we do remember, they go much farther than the REM state. And so for people who don't go in that deep to their subconscious, it's a process. It's a form to get to that level of realizing dreams that we've had. Something motivated that person, something connected with that individual to remember that dream. So when we have dreams and we remember them, it's very important. Those are signs from our subconscious telling us that, something that you clicked in, whether that same day or a few weeks ago, has surfaced. And this is how the mind is working through it, or how it's being creative in interpreting the situation. And so it's what we see consciously and what we bring in subconsciously, and how it gets all churned in, and something triggers to cause a dream to remember, remember a dream. Again, there are people who say, I don't remember my dreams. I don't. And I feel, again, it's a form of repression. It's something that, it could be a fear of going really deep within yourself. So I want to discuss a little bit about that, because people have night terrors. And those can be psychologically scarring dreams. They're dreams that are just manifesting in such a horrific way that psychologically it's affecting them. There's something deeper going on. And when people have night terrors like that, where they wake up in a sweat, they're screaming, there's something more going on. And that goes beyond the tarot. And so for people who have dreams of that intensity and they're not being resolved, or they're not being managed, that's when you have to seek professional help. This goes again beyond the tarot. So I want to make that clear that with some aspects of dream work, and especially something as frightening as night terrors or severe nightmares, it goes beyond the tarot. And I think once you go and get some form of help outside of the tarot and spiritually, you see someone from a professional level, they're breaking down those things, what they're getting to the core of what's causing all these issues. If it's abuse, emotional, if it's a PTSD situation, you need to heal consciously that aspect. And then the healing spiritually comes afterwards. So I feel there are different levels of healing when it comes to anyone who has a serious form of mental disorder, schizophrenia, severe depression, suicidal thoughts. It goes beyond the tarot. So I feel once those issues, anything of mental imbalance, severe mental imbalance, is resolved with professional help, then I feel the guides of tarot or any other form of spiritual practice, meditation, will guide you, and it will lead you subconsciously to better understand at a spiritual level what's going on. So, with that being said, to go back to Maha's discussion, she didn't talk about the tarot. She was talking more about her dreams and her experience about recollecting dreams. I don't remember all my dreams. Sometimes I wake up fresh from a dream and it's already time to get my day going, even before my alarm has started. So there's different situations on how I recall dreams personally. Again, every physical mind, body, spirit is different. We're going to remember things in different manners. Sometimes I need a physical trigger. It could be a smell. It could be something I hear, see, feel. We may not be aware of it. And then we sleep. And then we start having this dream. And it could be a reoccurring dream. It could be something that you had maybe a few weeks ago and something triggered in the conscious state. And what I mean the conscious state is in the physical realm, like the here and now. You see something, again, smell, taste. You go to sleep and the dream reoccurs. Sometimes it reoccurs in the same manner. It could be a different environment, different people are involved, but the feeling is still the same. I have dreams that are different, but the feeling is similar to previous dreams. And that's something that's very interesting, because emotionally I'm connecting with a current dream to something that I had a few weeks ago, a few days ago, where the dream was completely different, but the feeling was similar. It could be a feeling of isolation or a feeling of enjoying people's company and just having a good time, but it's placed in a different environment. So I don't know if that makes sense. But again, when doing dream work, especially when things are reoccurring, it's always good to keep track of your dreams. People do the dream journal to help them understand. I sometimes have dreams where I get bits and pieces coming back to me throughout the day. And again, how that happens, something triggers. It could be something I see online. And then you start feeling like the mind is going into a different realm, if you will, and then you start remembering, this particular dream and the environment that it's in. So I want to just bring out a few key things of some notes that I wrote a while ago, and how to manage these dreams. and to really place yourself in a situation where you can take control of your dreams. I don't like controlling dreams because there's a reason why we're dreaming. Dreaming is a form of self-therapy. It's a form of healing. So if you're trying to control what's happening in that dream, you're not really letting the mind, the subconscious, do what it has to do, which is release, giving you that message so that you can understand. So when you have a dream, and especially if it's a dream that you're feeling a strong connection to, and you realize consciously that you're in this dream state, pay attention to the detail. You know, you're in your dream and you're like, okay, I'm in this dream. You're not saying this, but the other part of your mind is aware that you're dreaming. You want to remember the color of the rose. The color could be like a green rose. Write down the location, the mood, the weather, the lighting. If it was color or black and white, that's another interesting question that people ask. Do you dream in black and white or color? And I've noticed I dream in color for the most part, but they go in different shades, different tones, different tints. There are colors where it's just it's not muted, but it's not contrasty, it's not vibrant. My dreams seem to be neutral, nothing dark. And I mentioned this earlier. What are the external influences? Again, what we see in our wake state, our conscious state, that can trigger the subconscious. And then seeing those triggers, or realizing those triggers when they come into the subconscious realm and we start dreaming. So when you have that dream, you're in that dream state, see if there's a key element from that dream. So when you awake, you're thinking, it's that yellow candle. Everything I saw in my dream was yellow. Something in the conscious realm, you saw a yellow candle, that color just moved you, it affected you. And you bring that, just tiny little elements, you know? It could be a tree, you know, somehow a tree just triggered something consciously and it goes into the subconscious. So be aware of that. When you're dreaming, see if there's a key element that when you wake up, you go back and you're just like, it was that water bottle, or it was that person, the smell, you know, and how you associate with those different senses and how you take it into the dream. Let's see. Reoccurring dreams, really briefly. I came across an article and it stated a means of the soul working to shift the perspective on that situation. So that dream that's coming back, whether it's exactly the same or it's similar, there's a shift, okay? So if you have the dream again and it feels similar, deja vu like, but at the subconscious state, you're already making shifts. You're seeing a different perspective of it. Okay, so let's say I'm dreaming that I'm riding a bike and I fall off the cliff. I fall and I land in the ocean and I'm still riding my bike, or that bike may have turned into a boat. You use those key elements to understand, okay, I was riding a bike, okay, which makes sense, I'm on land. I fell off that cliff and I landed in the ocean. Now, if you're riding that bike on the ocean, you break down what that bike is, what it represents. Movement, force. You're using, if that bike turned into a boat, which makes sense. Okay, water deals with emotions and stuff. So the boat I would interpret as a means of security. It's in the right place. That element of the boat is in the right place. The bike is off. Why is a bike riding on the water? What's moving it? It's you. So you break it down to that. You have to understand what aspects and the elements come into your dreams, and you break it down. Especially if it's just a few things. If it's a few aspects, 3 or 4 things that are in that dream, you pay attention to that and you write it down, and you give an interpretation of what those aspects are. The water, the boat, if you're wearing a jacket, if you're naked, all those things you break down. There's something else I was going to state. Okay, I'm just going to go and move with this naturally. I mentioned ask yourself how you connect to the specific details in a dream. When you introduce the tarot and you're asking the guides to help you with this dream, and the cards come up, look at the cards in relation to the dream. What aspects do you see in that card or cards that relate to the dream? Okay, remember, when we do the tarot, for the most part, this is reading our intuitive side. It's picking up our subconscious energy, and it's being transferred through the cards. Another thing, these are tarot exercises, and then I'm going to show you 2 decks that I use primarily for tarot work and subconscious work. I'm actually going backwards in my notes. When you do cards for a reading, when you pull your cards for doing tarot interpretation, one thing to do is find your deck that you're going to work with, one that you feel will be more on the subconscious side, just cards that you think will resonate more in understanding dreams. And that's why I have these 2 decks. So what you do is just shuffle major and minor arcana, shuffle them really good together. If you already have them in order, get them all nicely shuffled. And just start placing cards down, and stop when you feel it's ready to stop. It could be a big layout, but the key exercise in doing this, by just pulling these cards till you feel like something is like a story, like a message is coming across, is with the major and minor arcana, you want to see where the balance is coming in. Are you getting, because the tarot, as you know, is broken up into 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. And we also have the numbers, but in this case, I'm not focusing so much on numbers. Numbers don't play so much a part in our dream realm. Let's work with the elements. So you pull all these cards. Let's say you have 10 cards. You have 4 that are air, 2 that are water. You start seeing where more of the elements are coming across. So if your layout is going more towards fire, okay, keep note of that. And look at the pattern. If you, let's say, okay, let's go back to numbers actually. If you start seeing certain numbers coming up again, pay attention to that as well. So I'll retract what I said earlier. Look at the numbers, because what we're looking for is patterns. And we're trying to break down those patterns, whether numerically or elementally, and decipher that in such a way. So numerically, if we're getting a lot of 3s or 4s, understand the numerology with the tarot. 5s we know deal with strife, challenges, discipline, fear. 8 is starting to show harmony depending on what suit. I think in swords, 8 still deals with struggle, which you're still holding back, and that potential's there. So just look at the meanings of the numbers, the numbers that may be reoccurring, and read the energy that comes from those specific numbers that are showing up repetitively. Again, we're looking for patterns. Okay, so numerically, what numbers are coming up, and elementally. You combine those together and read the energies, first off, of those cards. You got a lot of air, you got a lot of fire, a little bit less of that. Look to create the balance, elementally and also numerically. If you're getting a lot of 5s, whoa, that's something that you need to stop and take a moment. If you're getting 3s, don't add the numbers together, okay? That's something different. We're working with the dreams. We want to see patterns. So don't start breaking down numbers, because this isn't the exercise to do it for. Just look for the same amount of numbers that could be coming up, the same amount of elements, different elements, where the balance is and where the imbalance is. And that's what we're looking for. Another way to do a reading for dream work, or if you want to initiate some dreams, and I do this once, twice a week. I do a nightly meditation pull, and what that basically is, and I work exclusively with the major arcana. The major arcana versus the minor arcana. Just really quick, the minor arcana sets the landscape of the journey that we all go through the elements and through the numbers. You see the progression. And so that places the landscape for us. The major arcana are the guides, and I feel that's so important when it comes to subconscious work with the tarot, dream work, shadow work. I rely on the archetypes to guide me to my dreams. Whether I'm trying to initiate a dream or a dream comes to me, I shuffle major arcana, only minor arcana goes off to the side, and I shuffle, and if I have an intention that I want for a dream, whether it's a relationship, work, whatever, I just keep that in mind. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You stop when you're ready. You pull one card, and that's a major arcana. And that major arcana card, whichever one you pull, that is your guide. Okay? And before you go to sleep, write down. If you're lazy and you don't want to write down, visually look at that card. Look at every nuance of that card, that archetype. Look at what he or she, or the energy, masculine, feminine, how it's dressed, how it feels to you. Does it feel cold? Does it feel hot? Does it feel like neutral? Crawl into that archetype. Kind of feel what it's like to be in that archetype's environment. And this is almost a form of, I don't want to say hypnosis, but in a way it sort of is, because you're consciously seeing it, and you're trying to influence your conscious to hold that image and the energy that you feel, and let it seep in subconsciously. It may not happen that night. It may happen on a night when you're not pulling cards, and you'll see some aspect or some energy from that archetype show up in your dream as a guide to help you. So that's what I do, and I think that's a great way to really get to the crux of your psyche. And again, anyone can do this who's exploring the tarot. I wouldn't really recommend this so much for beginners, because I would like someone who's new to the tarot to really feel comfortable. Not that they're still trying to figure out what the Hierophant is, or the world, the Wheel of Fortune. Feel comfortable with those cards. You can try. You can go ahead and do it if you're learning, and see what happens. I think that's why not? Go ahead and do it. But I think if you really want to do some deep work, really feel connected with the major arcana archetypes. Not that you have to know them inside and out, but when you pull that one card, that's your guide. So you're going to really draw in that energy. And if that guide feels like it's been helping you, leave that card out. Leave it by your bedside. And then if you feel it's time to do another card, work through the major arcana. And that's what I'm doing with one of my decks, because I got a new deck. I've got a few new decks, but one of the decks that I'm working with, I'm not putting the same major arcana back in the major arcana archetypes. So for instance, if I pull the Hierophant, I'm leaving that Hierophant out. And then a few nights later, I shuffle that same deck, the major arcana, and I pull a different card. I want to get a different guide, a different perspective. Some people, you could put it back. You could put all those cards back. And if you keep getting the same archetype, obviously you got your message that you have to work on. So that's one way of doing it. But since I'm working with a new deck, that's one way that I get familiar with a new deck, is I like to go through the archetypes and spend time with them. And then the minor arcana will come in time. So those are some of the exercises. They're different spreads that you can do. There's one spread that I saw online called the 4 Seasons or the 4 Directions spread. And so you're basically having a center card as your first card. I don't have a diagram, but the first card you put in the center, and that's the issue. And then cards 2, 3, 4, 5 represent the directions. Now, the person who created this, I don't know why it was put the second card, well, maybe you place the second card south. I see. So the center card in the center, second card south. So we're going like this, and we're going to end on the east. So, or with the east card. So center goes south as the second card. Third card is moving west. We are going we're going clockwise. West is the third card. Fourth card is north, and then the fifth card is the east. And for the second card representing the south, the first card, the center, is the issue of the dream. The south, because it's below, it's asking what is hidden, what is needed to get into that realm. The third, I haven't done this yet, but these are some of the things that I wrote for potential spreads for me to try out. The west, what needs to be released. So keep in mind the sun rises in the east. In the west, it sets, it's letting go, it's going down into the horizon until it comes up again. The north, what needs to be achieved, what needs to be created. North rules the element of earth, so it's things of producing, creating, achieving. And then we end east. What needs to be birth? What is the perspective that is needed? So, and that's the fifth card. Okay, so we have the center card, we go down south, and we go around, and we end east. And you could change these up, with spreads. These are just general layouts, but you can always change the direction. If you want to start north, and then maybe put your south card, south, the center card, maybe askew, you can always move it around. So that's one example. There's many spreads relating to dreams. But me personally, I like the exercise that I stated earlier about finding those patterns, finding the deck that you resonate with, and just start pulling cards and stopping when you feel it's ready. And maybe a few cards, it could be maybe the entire deck. So be patient with yourself when you're doing this, because if you're getting a lot of cards coming out, you have to break those down. So don't be so overwhelmed. Maybe start slow and then come back, write down notes that you got from your cards, and then come back to it. Maybe add a few more cards if you had another dream to it, because that adds another dimension to the reading that you had just done previously. So let's say you do your layout based on the dream that you just had. Leave the cards out. If you have another dream that night or a few days later, add a few more cards if you have any cards left. I think it's best not to use the entire deck. You know, be kind to your spirit, and and psychologically give your mind some time to process everything. Okay, so the decks that I work with, it's actually just two. And the decks that I have, they both have the name Dream in it, and it doesn't mean like these decks are specifically situated for Dreamwork only. These are all tarot decks. The two decks that I work with for dream and subconscious work is the Dreamkeepers Tarot by Liz Huston, and I have all the links for these two decks in the description. And the other one is my beloved healing deck, is what I call subconscious healing deck. It's the Dreams of Gaia by Ravynne Phelan. And I'm not going to do a review. I'm not going to show you all these cards. I do have reviews of them in my channel. You just have to kind of go back a little bit or do a search. So a little bit of a backstory with the Dreamkeepers Tarot. I got this deck about 1.5 years ago, and I met the creator, Liz, at her shop in Los Angeles. And it's inside the Last Bookstore, which is this beautiful multi-level used bookstore in downtown Los Angeles. And it's a wonderful place. If you get to Los Angeles, please go visit the bookstore. They also have a few new books, but it's mainly used books. And on the upper level, the mezzanine, there's all these different artists, painters, wood makers, all different forms of artisans that are up there. So it's definitely nice to visit. I don't live in LA anymore, but on the off chance that I get to LA, I like to go and visit. So anyhow, I came across Liz's shop and I went into it and I spoke to her. And she told me that she had this Kickstarter for a tarot deck. And she showed me it. And this is the cover of the book. It's now on its 3rd edition, which is now, I think it's through US Games. But she did it through Kickstarter, and then she did a 2nd edition, which I got. This is the 2nd edition. And when she showed me some of the cards, I was just like, this is perfect. This is my dream deck. Literally, this is my deck that I can work for dreams and subconscious work. And this deck has feminine energy. There's a lot of female imagery in here. But what I like about it, it's not so much the feminine aspect of it, as it is the environment that these women are in. And the environment is very surreal. It definitely hits the subconscious for me, because these cards are placed in very unusual environments. So I'm going to show you a few cards. Like I said, I'm not going to do a deck review of this. And I will explain to you how some of these decks work with me at a subconscious level. And some of the cards in this deck are literal. You'll see a person like Ace of Wands. I'll show you this really quick. Okay, so we're looking through a keyhole, and we see the woman right there by the pot. Ace of Wands, as we know, is initiating energy, creativity, movement. We're beginning to move towards something that will grow into something even bigger if you put the right energy and intention into it. So that's what we see here. But this is the creatrix, and some of the words in this deck have been changed. This is the magician. Okay. And we don't see the 4 elements, but what I love about this is, I want to try and get as close as I can, is it's going into a different realm. Okay, we see the magician normally out in an outdoor environment, if you will, on maybe a rock or wooden table, a rock slab or a wooden table with all the tools. But we don't see this here. This energy of the creatrix goes deeper. It's harnessing our creativity, our intuition from within. And just the imagery. You know, here we have the physical state of the person, but then we have these outer realms that influence us. This card's very strong with intuition. It's not the High Priestess, though. Again, it's the magician. And working still with those elements, you could still keep the meaning of the magician, how to work with those tools, but harness it. Use those 4 elements, fire, air, water, earth. Use those influences when it comes to working in the dream state. And I'm just going to go through these extremely quickly. Here we have the 2 of Wands. Okay, so the 2 of Wands is obviously creating balance, but if you look at the environment here, okay, and this isn't her feet. A lot of the characters in here that are depicted, they're modified. Some of them are missing parts of their bodies. Some of the body is not intact. Like you would see maybe the arms dismembered or floating off to the side. It's just that connection of how we need to reach into ourselves. We sometimes have to disassociate. We have to sometimes dismember parts of who we are to really get to that inner self. But here we have a reflection. We have the door. Sorry, this is reversed. And it's even hard for me to decipher, just looking at the card closely, what's going on here. This looks like it could be a reverse image of this person here in white, but here we see red. Red is the color of energy and movement. But we're seeing maybe something here in the conscious state. And this is what's really going on at a deeper level. Can't even see what it is. Here's an example of, okay, so here we have a body. It's solid. We don't see any detail in the body. And this is our 2 of Swords. Okay, and we know swords has to deal with the mind. Making choices. Here's an example, dismembering. And we also have to look at what's being held by these hands. There's so much to read into this. Also the realm of the body. Is the body rising? Is the body going down? It's not in, I don't want to say it's in water. But, I mean, this is just an example. There is just so much information to read from this card, and everyone's going to see it differently. Here's another wonderful example. The 3 of Swords. Okay. You literally have to separate your mind from your heart, and the way this image is depicted is there's no head. And the heart is resting on the lap. And we see the reflection of it right here on the table. But we don't even see the hands. You just see the heart on the table. So that's what I'm looking for, cards that really get you to think, not literally, but at a deeper, intuitive, subconscious level. I mean, if you were to pull this card, even though I was saying I work with the major arcanas, but if you were to pull this card and crawl into the detail of it, don't be surprised if you'll see aspects of this card and its meaning showing up in your dreams. And again, these cards can help you answer, different aspects of what's going on. There's the Hierophant. Okay? And again, this is the Dreamkeepers Tarot, if anyone's just scrolling through. The Hierophant, we know of someone who is to be of traditional values, being very, holds a lot of wisdom. And then if you look closely, we have a face here in the center, but then we have two other faces to show different perspectives of what the Hierophant sees. So I almost want to say this depiction here could represent being open-minded and looking at all things. This is actually one of my favorite Hierophants in my working tarot decks. And we have the staff and the snake for knowledge. But the environment's also dark, so we have to look into that. Maybe going into those to achieve certain knowledge and intuition, we have to go into the darker side of who we are. So that's what I like about this deck. There's just so much symbology, and this is the cover of the deck, the Lovers. And this is a very subconscious image. I mean, we have two birds that are holding the faces of the lovers in this card, and also look at their bodies. The feminine has candles, and what's interesting too is they're not flames. These look to be phases of the moon. And the lovers has to deal with communicating and understanding each other. And I love this depiction here of the moon to show the different emotional states that the female side goes to. And here, I cannot quite remember. I think this could be a deck of cards, I'm not certain. But also just the fact that we have two birds holding the faces. Birds are known for air, of course, flying, and for communicating, sending messages to each other. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different influences that when I do this card, when I work with this deck for Answers with Dreamwork, it takes me into that realm. It has all the surreal imagery that I feel works well for helping me, to guide me to understand what's going on. The depictions of the archetypes are slightly similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith, which we see here with the chariots. But here we have what looks to be like a statuesque figure, but holding these two faces. It's like which aspect of who we are, which face are we going to put on to guide us? So I'm holding this there. So that's a few cards from the Dreamkeepers Tarot, and it triggers for me because of its imagery and also the meaning that we have of the tarot to help me go into the understanding certain aspects of the dream and the subconscious. So this, for me, the Dreamkeepers Tarot is more of a deck to just kind of understand maybe the symbology that's in the dream, the feelings, because this dream, or because this deck already has those dreamlike qualities of it. Now, this deck, the Dreams of Gaia, I got earlier this year. I got two versions. I got the Pocket Edition, which is matte finish, and then I got the Standard Edition, which is actually larger than a regular tarot deck. And this is my healing deck. And I use this deck too when it comes to doing forms of healing for other people. The imagery is something that I haven't experienced in the tarot. It's very cosmic. It's very, and what I mean by cosmic is you'll see with some of the imagery. It deals with the deepest side of who we are, and also the highest side, our higher knowledge, and what it takes to get between those two realms. And it's broken down elementally as well. And I have to go to my notes because there's so much information that comes with this deck that I don't want to mess it up. So Major Arcana is broken up into 3 levels that we go through in life. One is the beginning stages, the stages of life. The second stage is the reasons of being. I call it the reason of existence. Why we are here. We are here to learn. We are here to feel pain. We are here to heal. We're here to love. Some of those attributes that I mentioned are created into cards here. And then the last one is the influences. What are the influences that we get from existing? What in our journey have we experienced, and what has stayed with us? And so those cards tend to be more along the lines of desire, perception, how we see things, faith, intuition, destiny. So those are some examples of influences with the Dreams of Gaia. This deck has its own system. It does not follow the Rider-Waite-Smith. So this is a deck for someone who already knows quite a bit about the tarot and has explored different systems of the tarot. This, I would say, is an advanced deck. But if you are new to the tarot and you just want a really nice deck that feels that it can give you a substance and nurturing and healing, this is the deck. And you can read this deck almost like an oracle. There's no words on it, but just the energy. Well, not with the Pocket Edition. Actually, the Standard Edition has some words to it. The Pocket Edition doesn't. But this deck is fueled by just the energy of these cards. So I'm going to show you some examples. So to kind of back up a little bit, again, I don't want to make this a tarot deck review. With the Dreams of Gaia, what I find with this deck that I can use, and I mentioned it at the start, is for healing. This will help any pain that you have, any discomfort, any fear. I feel these cards will help, I almost want to say soften the blow of those things, but to make you feel a little bit more secure. So I'm going to just go through the cards with like just the elements. They don't have court cards like we normally see them. The cards that they have here, I can't remember the name. They have a card, the number 11 card when you go through the minor arcana, like the 11 of water, the 11 of air, 11 of fire, 11 of earth, they show opposing aspects. So I believe, and I want to double check before I say this. For earth, it is heaven and earth. Okay. So I'm going to show you the pocket size edition. Okay. So this is heaven and earth. So we're obviously balancing the conscious and the higher knowledge. But we start with the subconscious. So when you work with this deck, the Dreams of Gaia, I work with the energy from it. And here we see the influences of earth. We see a wolf, we see a bear, we see the owl, and how they connect to communicating with this particular card of heaven and earth. The owl we know as a messenger of wisdom. The bear is strength. The wolf, intuitive energy. Here is the 11 of fire. God, look at this energy. So, as I show you these cards, you're like, I don't see how these relate to dreams. You have to be familiar with this deck and know the meanings of these cards. I haven't worked with this deck in a while, so I have to revisit it. But I want to show some of the energy that we get with these cards. Okay, so as I mentioned, 5 is of conflict. Okay, this is the element of fire, so we see tension between these two beings. Double masculine energy, double fire. This is very intense. So if you pull cards like this, again, going back to the elements and the numbers, if you're getting a lot of these more elements, more of a certain number, follow that. And this deck works perfectly for that. 3 of fire, journey, the experience. This is one of my favorites. The 10 of wands, 10 of fire. We have the chakras. Everything is in alignment. Everything is in balance. The energy, the movement, the choices that you made, the direction that you went to is all in alignment. So if you pull a card like this while doing dream work, it's showing that you are moving in that direction of aligning the conscious and the subconscious. It's still going to take time. Don't think you get this one card and that's it. Those reoccurring dreams are going to end. It's showing you the direction. Okay, and let's go to water. So 7 of water, 7 of cups. We have the third eye. Highly, especially the element of water in this deck, really focuses on the intuitive side, really connecting deep within ourselves. And this card is wonderful to show up when you're doing your dream readings because it's showing to use more of your intuitive, follow it more. Listen to your emotions. This is actually one of my other favorites. The 10 of water. And here we have that balance of the heart, the emotions. And we have the triple moon there. Connecting to our emotions and in control of them. And then we have a heart here with the eye on it. It's just it's just wonderful, this deck, just looking at it. Here again is the 11. Not again, but here is another example of balance. Now, when we look at, I think it's in most of the cards, yeah, the 11. Actually, the 11, 12, 13, 14 in this deck, they all have the eye. The eye is at the cosmic higher knowledge self. So it's showing, as I mentioned, this deck is very cosmic in this sense, very ethereal. It's really focusing on our intuitive side, our third eye. So this deck will help build this, will help build the intuitiveness so that we can go and understand more of our conscious self. And I'll just show a few of air and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, so the air we know of thoughts. Here's the 5 of air. Okay, the dragonfly is representative of intuition and spirituality, enclosing our minds, not being influenced by what we see, but how we think. This gives us the moment to really think about what's going on. Think about the dream that we had. And breaking it down. And eventually letting go. Here's the 8 of Swords. This is slightly graphic. We have 2 swords, one pointing upward, the other one piercing down into the hand. But if you look in the center, you start seeing chakra energy movement. And then we have the crowning of enlightenment. But again, 8 of Swords is still trying to open up to those elements of the mind and really understanding. We're going to face some pain. We're going to face some challenges. But that's the whole process. So if this card comes up for a dream interpretation, it could also show that we are still connecting to the mind. We have to really let it go, be open. It could be painful. And create that space that the conscious and subconscious needs to communicate and to work through the dreams. So that's a few examples. I know I spent more time with the Dreamkeepers tarot, but I just wanted to show elementally with the dreams of Gaia how to work with these elements. And because it is a non-Rider-Waite-Smith system, it's the creator, Ravynne Phelan's own system, to how to connect and how to work through certain aspects of who we are through the elements. And watching for patterns. You know, I'm saying that a few times, but it's true. Dreams that we have can represent patterns of ourselves and who we are. And so we'll see that. And again, it could be triggers that we see outside, how our elements, or how we see, smell, taste, feel, hear things influences us, and how we take that in to a subconscious state. So it sounds complex, but it really isn't. If you really spend the time in using the tarot and working with those aspects and paying attention and really connecting. Don't fear what card comes up. If a card comes up and it's pretty intense, accept it. That's the message that's being given to you so that you can understand an aspect, part of that dream, part of your subconscious that's awakening you. And again, just to reiterate what I said to begin with, for anyone who is experiencing intense psychological imbalances, night terrors, as I mentioned, because we're talking about dreams, things of that, things that are just so jarring. Psychologically, it's best to get outside help for that. But tarot can only help for so much. And I feel by, again, getting help, getting outside help to help break down and take care either physiologically. You need to take certain kinds of treatment to help. Take care of that aspect first. Take care of that part first. And then once those aspects start breaking down, and there's forms of openness and lightness and positivity, healing at a conscious level, mentally conscious, then the subconscious will be affected. Your dreams will start manifesting, more than likely in a softer way, and not as frightening and not as horrendous or grotesque or whatever. You start seeing those signs when you take care of things mentally at a conscious level and break it down, and it starts healing consciously that you're aware of. It goes into the subconscious state, and things will open up but not as hard. So, again, if there's anything very serious going on emotionally, mentally, get the help that is needed. Do not refer to the tarot. Tarot is there as guidance and can only help so much. So that is it. This has been really nice to talk about. And I'm wondering what dreams I'm going to have tonight, because I'm obviously activating and talking and bringing it out. I'm thinking about all this information. Let's see what dreams I'm going to have tonight, if any. So, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave comments. You can reach me through my website, www.themysticrosetarot. All that information is on the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to discuss this further, maybe I will do a live discussion. I want to get some feedback on this and how people work with their dreams and how they use the tarot, how they heal, and how they work through issues. How long has it taken? Healing is a lifelong process. And it's a journey of learning and experience. So I'd like to get feedback from that. So that's it. Have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon. Feel free to share this video. I'd like to get feedback and see what people think and feel about working with the tarot when it comes to dream work and subconscious work. Have a wonderful day, everyone. This is Amy of the Mystic Rose Tarot.